The chamber was silent. Do-hyun Kim stood alone in the center of the vast room, surrounded by 73 alien rulers from across the galaxy. Each one sat on their elevated platforms, looking down at him with eyes that held no warmth. Some had multiple eyes, some had none at all. But Do-hyun could feel their judgment pressing down on him like a physical weight. He wore his formal diplomatic uniform, black with silver trim. His hands were clasped behind his back. His face showed nothing. No fear, no anger. Just calm acceptance of what was coming. The Luminar spoke. It was a being made of living crystal, glowing with soft blue light. Its voice echoed through the chamber without sound, appearing directly in the minds of everyone present. Ambassador Kim. The Galactic Council has deliberated on the matter of humanity. The charges are clear. Your species has expanded too aggressively. You have colonized systems without proper authorization. You have interfered with civilizations that had not yet achieved spaceflight. You have violated the non-interference protocol 17 times in the past decade alone. Do-hyun said nothing. There was nothing to say. The charges were true. Humanity had been impatient. They had pushed boundaries that other species respected. They had been warned before. Now came the consequences. The Council has voted, the Luminar continued. 73 rulers. 73 votes. The decision is unanimous. A holographic display appeared above Do-hyun's head showing the vote count. Every single ruler had voted the same way. Guilty. Banishment. Humanity is hereby exiled from Earth and all territories within Council jurisdiction. You have 6 months to evacuate. After that time, any human found within our borders will be arrested and detained. Earth itself will be placed under Council protection. Your species will be relocated to the Outer Rim, beyond our jurisdiction. There you may build whatever future you can, but you will never again be permitted to return to Council space without explicit permission. The chamber remained silent. Other species whispered among themselves, their various forms of communication creating a strange symphony of sounds and lights and pheromones. Some seemed satisfied. Others appeared uncertain. A few looked almost sad. Do-hyun's communication device vibrated in his pocket, once, twice, 3 times. The signal he had been waiting for. He allowed himself the smallest smile. The Council recognizes this is a harsh sentence, the Luminar said, but humanity has proven itself unable to coexist peacefully with other species. Perhaps isolation will teach you wisdom. Perhaps in time you will mature enough to rejoin the galactic community. Until then you are banished. Do-hyun finally spoke. His voice was steady and clear. The human government acknowledges this verdict. We accept the terms of our banishment. The Luminar seemed surprised by this easy acceptance. You do not wish to appeal? To argue your case further? No, Do-hyun said. We understand your position. We disagree with it, but we understand it. Humanity will comply with the evacuation order. You have 6 months, the Luminar repeated. That will not be necessary, Do-hyun replied. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his communication device. He pressed a button, and another holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. This one showed Earth, Luna, and Mars. On each world, thousands of lights were rising into space. Ships, countless ships. Protocol departure was activated 3 hours ago, Do-hyun explained calmly. When this session began, Earth's governments made the decision to begin immediate evacuation procedures. We have been preparing for this possibility for 18 months. We knew this vote was coming. We knew what the outcome would be. The chamber erupted in shocked voices and communications. The Luminar's glow intensified, casting harsh shadows across the walls. You began evacuating before the verdict was announced? The Luminar's mental voice carried an edge of anger. We began evacuating before this session even started, Do-hyun corrected. Earth has 12,000 colony ships ready for departure. The first wave launched 2 hours ago. The second wave is launching now. By the end of this week, 3 billion humans will be in transit. By the end of the month, 8 billion. We will be completely evacuated in less than 3 months, not 6. He gestured to the holographic display, which now showed detailed plans and schedules. We are also dismantling all orbital infrastructure. All space stations, satellites, mining facilities, and research outposts are being decommissioned. We are taking everything we built, everything we created. We leave nothing for the Council to claim. A reptilian counselor hissed something in its native language. Do-hyun's translator rendered it as a question about resources and logistics. Yes, we have the resources, Do-Yun confirmed. Humanity has been stockpiling supplies, building ships, and training crews for this exact scenario. We hoped it would not come to this. We truly did. But we are not fools. We saw how this council treated the Kelhari species 50 years ago. We saw what happened to the Marenki when they violated your protocols. We knew that one day it would be our turn. Back on Earth, Minji Park sat in the Exodus Command Center. Holographic screens surrounded her, each one showing a different aspect of the massive evacuation. 300 staff members worked at their stations, coordinating the departure of billions of people. There was no panic, no chaos. Everyone had been trained for this. Everyone knew their role. First wave has cleared the asteroid belt, one officer reported. All ships reporting green across the board. Second wave launching from Mars, another called out. Colony ships Dawn, Horizon, and Victory are away. Minji touched her communication earpiece. Admiral Lee, status report. The voice of Admiral Tae-Hoon Lee came through clearly. All military vessels are standing by. We're providing escort for the civilian ships. So far, no interference from Council forces. Good, Minji said. Keep it that way. We leave peacefully, but we leave completely. On Mars, Ji-Hoon Nam watched as massive cranes dismantled the terraforming processors. Each piece was carefully loaded onto cargo ships. Nothing would be left behind. The red planet would return to being red, untouched by human hands. Sir, the biodomes are packed, one of his engineers reported. Ready for transport, Ji-Hoon nodded. Good, start on the water extractors next. We take it all. Back in the council chamber, Do-Hyun continued to speak. Humanity thanks the council for their judgment. We will not trouble you again. The Outer Rim will be our new home. We will build our future there, beyond your reach, beyond your rules. Perhaps one day our paths will cross again. Perhaps not. Either way, humanity will survive. He bowed formally, the gesture sharp and precise. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the stunned silence. Ambassador Kim, the Luminar called out. What if you fail? What if the Outer Rim proves too harsh for your species? Do-Hyun stopped at the doorway. He looked back over his shoulder, and for the first time his expression showed emotion. Not fear, not desperation, pride. Then we will die trying, he said simply. But we will not beg. We will not crawl back asking for mercy. Humanity may be many things, but we are not beggars. He left the chamber. Behind him, the 73 rulers sat in shocked silence, beginning to wonder if they had made a terrible mistake. In orbit above Earth, the exodus continued. Ship after ship rose into the black, carrying humanity toward an unknown future, and as the sun set on the last day of humanity's presence in council space, not a single human looked back. The sky above Seoul was filled with lights, not stars, ships, hundreds of them rising in perfect formation toward the orbital assembly points. Soo-Hyun Choi stood on the observation deck of the New Horizon and watched her home world shrink below her. 3 million people were aboard her ship. 3 million lives depending on her decisions. Captain, final loading is complete, her first officer reported. All bays are sealed. Life support is green. We're ready for departure. Soo-Hyun nodded. She had been preparing for this moment for 2 years, ever since the government approached her about commanding one of the supercarriers. Still, seeing it actually happen felt surreal. Humanity was leaving Earth, all of it, everyone. Take us out, she ordered. Formation Delta. Follow the New Dawn and the New Hope. We're third in line. The massive ship hummed as its engines powered up. Through the windows, Soo-Hyun could see dozens of other colony ships doing the same. Each one held millions of people. Each one carried a piece of humanity's future. Down on Earth, the evacuation continued at every spaceport. Families lined up with their assigned luggage, 1 bag per person. Everything else had already been shipped ahead. Photos, heirlooms, memories, all packed into cargo containers and loaded onto freighters weeks ago. Now only the people remained. An old woman cried as she boarded her transport. A young boy asked his mother when they would come home. A man took one last look at the mountains in the distance before stepping through the airlock. These were the final moments of humanity on Earth. Minji Park watched it all from her command center. Every screen showed a different city, a different spaceport, a different group of people saying goodbye to the only home they had ever known. Her job was to make sure every single one of them made it safely to orbit. Beijing Spaceport reports. Final group boarding now, one officer called. Out, Lagos has cleared their last transport, another reported. Buenos Aires is shutting down. All personnel evacuated. One by one, the cities emptied. One by one, the lights went dark. Humanity was leaving, and they were leaving nothing behind that could be used or claimed by others. On Mars, Jihoon Nam stood in the control room of the main terraforming facility. The massive machines that had been slowly transforming the red planet's atmosphere for 50 years were going silent. Workers disconnected power cables and dismantled processing units. Everything would be taken. How long until the last piece is loaded? Jihoon asked his team. 72 hours, the chief engineer replied. We're on schedule. Good. And the colony domes? Already packed and shipped. The last transport left this morning. Jihoon looked out the window at the rusty red landscape. Humanity had spent so much time and effort trying to make Mars livable. Now they were undoing it all, not because they wanted to, but because they refused to leave anything for the Council to inherit. Make sure we take the water extractors too, he said. Every last one. High above Earth, observer Vextari watched the exodus with growing confusion. Her ship had been sent by the Council to monitor the evacuation, expecting to find chaos and desperation. Instead, she witnessed something else entirely. The human ships moved in perfect coordination. There were no accidents, no panics, no fights over who got to leave first. Everyone seemed to know exactly where to go and what to do. It was like watching a well-rehearsed performance. This is impossible, her assistant said. How can they organize something this massive so quickly? Vextari studied the data streams. They're not doing it quickly. Look at the ship designs. Look at the coordination protocols. This has been planned for years. They knew this was coming, but how? The vote only happened yesterday. They didn't need the vote to know, Vextari realized. They saw the pattern. They saw what happens to species that displease the Council, so they prepared. She recorded her observations and transmitted them back to Council headquarters. She knew this report would cause concern. The Council had expected humanity to struggle, to beg for more time, to negotiate for better terms. Instead, humanity was leaving faster than required and with more organization than seemed possible. In orbit, Admiral Tae-Hoon Lee commanded the defense perimeter. His ships, humanity's entire military fleet, formed a protective sphere around the evacuation convoy. Not that they expected an attack. The Council had given them permission to leave. But Lee was taking no chances. Sir, long-range sensors show Council observation vessels at the edge of the system, his tactical officer reported. Let them watch, Lee said. They can see us leave with dignity. He pulled up a tactical display showing the Sol system. Every planet, every moon, every orbital facility was marked. One by one, those marks were changing color as locations were evacuated and dismantled. Earth's orbital ring, gone. The lunar mining facilities packed up. The Venus research station abandoned. The Jupiter fuel refineries, mothballed and transported. Even the tiny outpost on distant Pluto was being evacuated. We're not leaving them anything, his second-in-command observed. That's the point, Lee replied. They want us gone? Fine, but we take everything we built. Our technology, our infrastructure, our achievements, all of it. Weeks passed. The evacuation continued day and night. Transport ships made endless runs between the surface and the orbital assembly points. Colony ships filled to capacity and departed for the outer rim. Supply vessels carried everything from medical equipment to museum artifacts. Soo-hyun watched from the new horizon as more and more ships joined the Exodus fleet. They were scattered across space now, thousands of vessels heading in the same general direction. Some moved faster than others. Some carried military equipment. Some carried civilians. But all of them were leaving. She checked her passenger manifest. 3 million souls aboard her ship. 3 million people who were trusting her to lead them to safety. Among them were doctors, teachers, engineers, artists, farmers, and families. Every skill humanity possessed was represented somewhere in the fleet. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth, her communications officer said. Soo-hyun opened the channel. Minji Park's face appeared on the screen. Captain Choi, this is Exodus Command. How is your ship handling? Perfectly, Soo-hyun replied. All systems nominal. Passengers are settling in. We're ready for the long journey. Good. You're now officially the lead vessel of Group 7. 12 ships will follow your navigation. Take care of them. Understood. We won't let you down. The transmission ended. Soo-hyun looked at her crew. They were young, most of them. too young to remember a time when humanity didn't know about aliens and galactic councils, but old enough to understand what was happening. They were leaving home, maybe forever. Set course for the outer rim, she ordered. Maximum cruise speed. And someone play music. Something from Earth. Something to remember. Through the ship's speakers, an old song began to play. Something about going home. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Back on Earth, the last transports were loading. These were the volunteers who had stayed behind to ensure everything was properly shut down. Power grids were being switched to automatic mode. Weather monitoring stations were being locked. The global network was being archived and uploaded to the colony ships. Minji watched the countdown timer. 72 days since the council's verdict. 72 days of constant work. And now they were almost done. Final transport is loading now, her deputy reported. We're on the last group. Any stragglers? None. Everyone who wanted to leave has left. Everyone who is leaving has been accounted for. Minji stood up from her command chair. Around her, the staff were already packing up their equipment. This command center would soon be empty and dark. All right, she said. Let's go home. Our new home. As the final transport lifted off, Admiral Lee activated the last protocol. All around Earth, in orbit and beyond, automated systems received the same signal. One by one, the defense satellites began to self-destruct. Not violent explosions, but controlled decommissions. They burned up in the atmosphere or broke apart into harmless debris. Humanity would leave nothing functional behind. No weapons, no tools, no infrastructure. Lee watched as the last satellite went dark. Then he turned his ship toward the outer rim and gave the order to his fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Lee. Set course and engage engines. We're going home. Behind them, Earth spun silently in space. Empty. Cleaned out. Abandoned. The Council had wanted humanity gone. They got their wish, but not in the way they expected. 10 years had passed since humanity left Earth. The Galactic Council had expected to hear from them by now. Requests for aid, diplomatic messages, maybe even pleas to return home. Instead, there was only silence. Councillor Primeth stood in the observation room of the Council headquarters looking at the star maps. The outer rim section was highlighted in red. That entire region had been designated as humanity's exile zone. It was supposed to be harsh and unforgiving. Low resources, dangerous radiation, unstable star systems, the kind of place where a banished species would struggle to survive. Still nothing? Primeth asked the communications officer. No signals detected, Counselor. We've been monitoring for 10 years. Not a single transmission, no distress beacons, no colony markers, nothing. Primeth felt uneasy. Have we sent any scouts to check on them? 3 expeditions, Counselor. None found any trace of human activity. It's like they vanished completely. That was what worried Primeth. A species didn't just vanish. 15 billion people didn't disappear into nothing. They had to be somewhere. The question was why they were staying hidden. Far from council space, in a system with no official designation, Governor Heejin Song stood on a balcony overlooking the city of New Terra. Below her, millions of people went about their daily lives. Towers of glass and metal reached toward the sky. Transport vehicles flew between buildings. Parks and gardens added green to the urban landscape. This was just one of 73 colonies humanity had established in the outer rim, and it was one of the smaller ones. Governor, the morning reports are ready, her assistant said, handing her a data pad. Heejin scrolled through the information. Agricultural output was up. Manufacturing was running at full capacity. The new university had opened last month with 50,000 students enrolled. Population growth was steady. Everything was going according to plan. Any word from the other colonies? She asked. New Seoul reports they've completed their orbital shipyard. New Tokyo has successfully terraformed their 4th moon. New Mumbai just celebrated their first 1,000,000 births. Heejin smiled. Humanity wasn't just surviving in the outer rim. They were thriving. Dr. Minho Kang walked through his research facility, checking on various experiments. His team had been studying the outer rim for 10 years now, and their findings were remarkable. The region that the Council considered worthless was actually incredibly valuable. You just needed to know how to use it. The radiation levels that make this region dangerous to most species actually help us, Minho explained to his students. Our cells repair faster here. Our crops grow stronger. The magnetic fields that disrupt most alien technology work fine with our equipment. One student raised her hand. Professor, did the council know this would happen? No, Minho said. They never properly explored the outer rim because their species couldn't survive here long enough to study it. They made assumptions based on incomplete data. We, however, adapt. He pulled up a holographic display showing comparative biology. Most council species evolved on stable, moderate worlds. Low radiation, steady gravity, calm stellar activity. They're specialized for those conditions. Humans evolved on Earth, a world with variable conditions. We learned to adapt to change. That adaptability is saving us now. Young Su Han commanded a small reconnaissance ship on the edge of human space. His job was to watch for any council activity near their borders. So far, he had detected 3 expeditions sent to look for humanity. Each time, he had carefully avoided detection and reported back to headquarters. Another council scout ship. His sensor officer reported. Same pattern as before. They're scanning random systems, looking for our colonies. How close are they to finding anything? Young-Su asked. At their current search pattern, they'd need about 300 years to stumble across one of our worlds, and that's if we don't move the border markers. Young-Su nodded. Good, let them search. Let them wonder. The longer they think we're struggling or dying, the better. He sent an encrypted message back to command. The council was still looking, but they were looking in the wrong places. They assumed humanity would settle near the edge of the outer rim, close to council space. Instead, humanity had pushed deep into the interior, finding better systems and richer resources. Back on New Terra, the colonial leadership gathered for their monthly meeting. Hiejin Song sat at the head of the table, surrounded by governors and administrators from other colonies. They met via hologram, each appearing as a blue translucent image. The question before us today, Hiejin began, is whether we should break our silence. It's been 10 years. Perhaps it's time to let the council know we survived. Governor Kyung-ho Jang from New Seoul disagreed. Why? What do we gain from that? The council banished us. They wanted us gone. Let them think they succeeded. But we could open trade, suggested Governor Myung Cho from New Kyoto. We have resources they need, technology they might want, and they have things we don't need, Kyung-ho countered. We're self-sufficient now. Everything we need, we make ourselves. Every problem we face, we solve ourselves. We don't need the council anymore. The debate continued for hours. Some wanted to reach out. Others wanted to maintain silence. Finally, Hiejin called for a vote. The result was clear. Maintain radio silence. Continue expansion. Build strength. If and when humanity contacted the council again, it would be from a position of power, not need. On the research station orbiting New Terra, Minho continued his work. His latest project focused on faster-than-light travel. The technology humanity brought from Earth was good, but it could be better. Much better. We've improved engine efficiency by 40%, he told his team. Our ships can now travel twice as far on the same fuel. We're also working on new hull materials that can withstand higher radiation levels. Within 5 years, we'll have ships that can go places the council can't. His assistant asked, should we share this technology with Earth? If we ever return? Earth is part of the Human Federation now, Minho replied. When we contact them again, they'll get everything we've developed. But not yet. Not until we're ready. Councillor Primeth couldn't shake his concern. He had been one of the few who voted against banishment, arguing that humanity was young and impulsive but not fundamentally dangerous. Now he wondered what they had become in their isolation. Run the projections again, he told his analysts. Assume humanity survived. Assume they found resources in the outer rim. What would their civilization look like after 10 years? The analysts worked for weeks creating models and simulations. When they presented their findings, Primeth felt his concern deepen. If they survived at all, Counselor, they would need at least 20 colonies to support their population. Each colony would need significant infrastructure. They would need farms, factories, power generation, and defense systems. Based on their pre-exile technology and known human ingenuity, they could theoretically achieve this. And if they achieved more than that, the analyst hesitated, then we would be dealing with a potential rival power. Not a struggling exile, but a new nation. Primeth ordered the information classified. The council didn't need to panic, not yet, but he increased the budget for scout missions and surveillance. They needed to know what humanity was doing out there. In the human colonies, life continued. Children were born who had never seen Earth. Engineers designed new technologies. Farmers cultivated alien soil. Artists created new works inspired by new worlds. Humanity was building a civilization from scratch, and they were doing it their way, without council oversight or interference. Soo-hyun Choi, now an admiral herself, commanded the defense fleet for the entire new Terra system. Her old ship, the New Horizon, had been converted into a military academy. Thousands of young officers trained aboard it, learning how to protect their new home. "Admiral, we've detected another council scout at the border," her tactical officer reported. "Same as always," Soo-hyun said. "Let them pass. Don't engage. Don't even let them know we saw them." "Yes, ma'am." Soo-hyun thought about the council often. She wondered if they felt guilty about the banishment, if they worried about what happened to humanity, if they cared at all. Probably not. They had made their decision and moved on, but humanity hadn't moved on. Humanity had moved forward. There was a difference. The 10-year mark came and went. Humanity remained silent. The council continued to wonder. And in the outer rim, in systems the council thought were worthless, humanity built their future one day at a time. They had been given exile as punishment. They had turned it into opportunity. Governor Hyejin stood on her balcony again, watching the sunset on New Terra. The sky here was different from Earth. 2 suns instead of 1. The colors were strange and beautiful. This wasn't home, not the way Earth was home, but it was becoming home, and that was enough. "We're doing well," her assistant observed, standing beside her. "Yes," Hyejin agreed. "We are, and the council has no idea," she smiled. "Let them wonder. Let them search. Let them assume humanity was dying in the dark. When the truth finally came out, it would be quite a surprise." Captain Clara had been exploring space for 40 years. She had seen strange planets, unusual life forms, and cosmic phenomena that defied explanation. But nothing had prepared her for what she found in the outer rim. Her ship, the Celestial Harmony, was on a scientific survey mission. The council wanted data on the region's stellar activity and radiation patterns. It was supposed to be a simple job. Chart some systems, take some readings, return home. Then they found the station. "Captain, sensors are detecting a massive structure ahead," her science officer reported. "It's in orbit around the neutron star." Clara looked at her displays. The structure was huge, easily 5 kilometers across, and it was definitely artificial. The design was angular and efficient, with docking ports and sensor arrays visible along its surface. "Life signs?" she asked, scanning now. "Yes, Captain. Multiple life signs. The structure is inhabited." Clara felt a chill run down her spine. "What species? Is it council?" "Negative. The biological signatures match human." The bridge went silent. Everyone knew that name. The species that had been banished 25 years ago. The species that supposedly vanished into the outer rim. They were here. They had survived. "Try to back away slowly," Clara ordered. "Don't make any aggressive moves," but it was too late. 3 ships appeared on sensors coming from behind the neutron star. They were sleek and fast, unlike anything in the council database. They moved into position around the Celestial Harmony with precise coordination. "We're being hailed," the communications officer said. Clara took a deep breath. "Open the channel." A human face appeared on the screen. A woman, middle-aged, wearing a dark blue uniform. She looked calm and professional. "This is Commander Jiwon Bei of the Human Federation Defense Force. You have entered protected space without authorization. Please state your purpose." Clara tried to keep her voice steady. "I am Captain Talara of the Council vessel Celestial Harmony. We're on a scientific mission. We meant no intrusion. We didn't know this region was claimed." "It's claimed now," Jiwon replied. "All 73 systems in this sector belong to the Human Federation. You'll need to come with us to the station for processing." "Processing? Standard procedure for unauthorized entry. Don't worry, you won't be harmed. We just need to verify your identity and mission parameters. Please follow my ships. Any attempt to flee or fight will be considered hostile." Clara had no choice. Her ship was surrounded and outgunned. She ordered her crew to comply. The human station was impressive up close. Clara could see construction drones working on new sections. Ships came and went from the docking bays. This wasn't some desperate survival outpost. This was a thriving facility. Inside, she was escorted to a meeting room where another human waited. This one introduced herself as Ambassador Suman Yu. "Welcome to Outpost Horizon. Suman said pleasantly. I apologize for the aggressive escort, but we take border security seriously. Please sit. Clara sat, her forelegs folding beneath her. Ambassador, I must ask, what is all this? The Council believed humanity was struggling to survive out here. Suman smiled slightly. Did they? That's interesting. May I ask why the Council cared what happened to us after they banished us? It was a harsh sentence, Clara admitted. Some of us felt guilty about it, but not guilty enough to reverse the decision, Suman observed. Captain, humanity has been out here for 25 years. We've built a new civilization, 73 colonies, billions of people. We're not struggling, we're thriving. She activated a holographic display showing the extent of human territory. Clara stared in shock at the map. System after system marked in blue. Each one claimed by humanity. Each one developed and defended. This is impossible, Clara whispered. The Outer Rim is supposed to be hostile, dangerous. It is, Suman agreed. For most species. But humans are adaptable. We evolved on a world that constantly tried to kill us. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, predators, diseases. We learned to survive anything. The Outer Rim is just another challenge. Clara looked at the ambassador. What do you want from the Council? Nothing, Suman said simply. We want to be left alone. We were banished. Fine, we accepted that. Now we have our own territory, our own government, our own future. We don't need the Council anymore, but trade, technology exchange, cultural contact? Perhaps eventually, but on our terms, not theirs. You're free to return to Council space, Captain. Take your data. Show them what you found. Tell them humanity sends its regards. Clara and her crew were released 12 hours later. Their ship was allowed to leave with all their sensor data intact. Jiwan's ships escorted them to the border and watched them go. As soon as the Celestial Harmony entered Council space, Clara sent an urgent message to headquarters. Then she started compiling her full report. The Council needed to see this, all of it. 3 weeks later, Clara stood before the full Council assembly. Behind her, holographic displays showed everything she had recorded. The station, the ships, the maps of human territory, the 73 claimed systems. The chamber was in chaos. Counselors argued with each other in dozens of languages. Some demanded immediate action. Others called for diplomacy. A few seemed genuinely happy that humanity had survived. Counselor Primeth watched it all with grim satisfaction. He had been right. Humanity hadn't died in exile. They had grown stronger. The Luminar called for order. Its crystalline form glowed brightly, demanding attention. Captain Clara's report is disturbing. Humanity has become a significant power in just 25 years. This raises serious questions about security and territory. The Outer Rim was supposed to be uninhabitable. For us, perhaps, Primeth said, standing, but not for them. We exiled humanity to a place we couldn't survive. They adapted. That's what they do. What do you recommend? The Luminar asked. Diplomacy, Primeth said firmly. We sent them away. They stayed away. They've claimed territory outside our jurisdiction. They haven't attacked anyone or violated any laws. We have no legal grounds for action against them. A reptilian counselor hissed disagreement. They're too close to our borders. They could be a threat. They were always a threat, Primeth countered. That's why you voted to exile them. But exiling them didn't make them less dangerous. It just moved the danger somewhere else. Now we need to deal with reality. Humanity exists. Humanity is strong. We need to talk to them. The debate continued for hours. Finally, a vote was called. The result was narrow but clear. Send a diplomatic envoy to negotiate with the Human Federation. But privately, the Luminar authorized another action. The Council's defense fleets were put on alert. Patrol routes were adjusted to watch the borders near human space. Military readiness was quietly increased, just in case. In human space, Daehyun-Oh received reports of the Council's activities. He was the chief of Human Federation security, and his job was to know everything that happened near their borders. The Council is mobilizing, he told the Federation leadership during a secure conference call. Not openly, not aggressively, but they're preparing for possible conflict. Admiral Soo-hyun Choi frowned. Do they really think they can intimidate us? They don't know what we're capable of, Daehyun replied. They've seen one station. 3 ships. They don't know about our military buildup. They don't know about our technological advances. They're trying to guess our strength based on limited information. Should we show them more? Someone asked. No, Daehyun said. Let them guess. Let them worry, but prepare for anything. If they come in peace, we'll meet them peacefully. If they come with threats, we'll show them exactly how strong we've become. Governor Hedgen received the same intelligence. She called an emergency meeting of the colonial governors. The council knows we exist now, she told them. They're sending diplomats. But they're also preparing their military. We need to decide how to respond. We meet them as equals, Governor Kyung-ho said firmly, not as exiles begging to come home, as representatives of an independent nation. The others agreed. Humanity had spent 25 years building their civilization. They had survived banishment. They had thrived in exile. They would not bow down to the council now. Ambassador Suman began preparing for the negotiations. She knew this would be difficult. The council thought of humanity as children who needed guidance. They would have to learn that humanity had grown up. The hard way, if necessary. On New Terra, recruitment for the military increased. Young men and women signed up to defend their new home. Shipyards worked overtime building new vessels. Research facilities rushed to complete weapon developments. Humanity hoped for peace. But they prepared for war. Because they had learned a valuable lesson. Never again would they depend on someone else's mercy. Never again would they be powerless. The council wanted to talk. Fine, humanity would talk, but from a position of strength. The neutral space station called Horizon's Edge floated at the exact midpoint between Council space and Human Federation territory. It had been built specifically for this meeting, a joint project that took 6 months to complete. Half the station was designed to Council specifications. Half was built to human standards. Neither side wanted to meet on the other's ground. President Yoon-ji Kwon stood in the human section's preparation room, adjusting her formal suit. 30 years had passed since the banishment. 30 years since humanity left Earth. She had been a junior diplomat back then. Now she led the entire Federation. They're ready for us, her aide informed her. Yoon-ji nodded. She glanced at her team. Admiral Tae-hoon Lee was there, older now but still sharp. Chief diplomat Seo-hoon An carried a datapad filled with negotiation points. A dozen specialists and advisors completed the delegation. Remember, Yoon-ji said quietly, we're not begging. We're not apologizing. We're here as equals. Act like it. They entered the conference hall. The room was massive, circular, with one half adapted for various alien physiologies and the other half featuring standard human seating. The council delegation was already there. 73 representatives. The luminar at the center still glowing with that unsettling blue light. Yoon-ji walked to her seat and sat down. She didn't bow, didn't show deference. She simply looked at the council and waited. The luminar spoke first, its voice appearing in everyone's mind. President Kwon, the council welcomes you to these negotiations. Thank you, Yoon-ji replied, her voice calm. Though I note that 30 years ago the council told us we were never welcome anywhere near you again. Times change, I suppose. A ripple of discomfort went through the alien delegates. Apparently, they expected her to be more diplomatic. Too bad, Councillor Primuth, one of the few who had opposed banishment, spoke next. President Kwon, please understand. The council is concerned. You've built a significant civilization very quickly. You've claimed territory. You have military forces. We need to understand your intentions. Our intentions? Yoon-ji leaned forward. You banished us. You told us to leave and never come back. We did exactly that. We found new homes. We built new lives. We survived and thrived. Now you're concerned about our intentions? You must admit it's unusual, Primuth said carefully. The outer rim was not supposed to be habitable. For you, perhaps, Yoon-ji replied. But humans are adaptable. We evolved on a world with extreme conditions. The outer rim's challenges were nothing we couldn't handle. In fact, we found it quite comfortable, rich in resources, full of opportunities. Thank you for exiling us there, actually. It worked out better than Earth ever did. The sarcasm wasn't lost on anyone. Some council members shifted uncomfortably. Others looked angry. The luminar's glow intensified slightly. President Kwon, what does humanity want from this meeting? The luminar asked. Recognition, Yoon-ji stated flatly. We want the Human Federation recognized as an independent sovereign power. We want our territorial claims acknowledged. We want formal diplomatic relations established. And we want a non-aggression pact that guarantees you'll never try to exile us or control us again. And in return? Primuth asked. Seokun stood up and activated a holographic display. In return, we offer trade agreements. We have resources you need. We've developed technologies that would benefit Council species. For example, we've mastered radiation shielding that would allow your ships to explore regions previously inaccessible to you. We've developed medical treatments for conditions caused by extreme environmental exposure. We've created new agricultural techniques that work on marginal worlds. He paused, letting that sink in. Basically, we learned to thrive where you can't survive. That knowledge has value. The council delegates began talking among themselves. Yunji watched them, reading their body language as best she could with such alien forms. Some seemed interested, others appeared skeptical. A few looked openly hostile. A large insectoid counselor spoke, its words translated by the station's systems. Why should we trust you? You violated our protocols. You ignored our rules. You were banished for good reason. Admiral Lee stood up for the first time. We were banished because we were young and aggressive, because we wanted to explore and expand and we didn't wait for permission. You saw us as dangerous children. Maybe we were. But 30 years in exile teaches you things. We learned patience. We learned self-reliance. We learned that the galaxy doesn't owe us anything. We earned everything we have now. He looked directly at the insectoid counselor. You want to know if you can trust us? Here's the truth. We don't need you anymore. We don't need your markets. We don't need your protection. We don't need your approval. We're offering trade and diplomacy because it's mutually beneficial, not because we're desperate. If you reject our offer, we'll simply continue doing what we've been doing. Building, growing, expanding, with or without council recognition. The room went silent. That was the gambit. Yunji had decided to approach this from strength, not weakness. Show the council that humanity didn't need them. Make them want the relationship more than humans did. Primuth studied the human delegation. You've changed. 30 years ago, humanity wanted to join the council, to be part of the galactic community. Now you seem content to stay separate. We wanted to join because we thought you represented something worth joining, Yunji said. A community of advanced civilizations working together. What we got instead was judgment and exile. So yes, we've changed. We learned to stand alone, and we discovered we're pretty good at it. The negotiations continued for 3 days. Point by point, they worked through the details. Territory boundaries, trade regulations, diplomatic protocols, military restrictions. It was exhausting work, but both sides were motivated. The council wanted to avoid having a hostile power on their borders. Humanity wanted formal recognition and peace. On the 3rd day, they reached a framework agreement. The Human Federation would be recognized as an independent power. Their territorial claims in the Outer Rim would be acknowledged. Trade would begin immediately. A joint council would be established to handle disputes and coordinate on mutual concerns. In return, humanity agreed to respect council borders, participate in information sharing about space hazards, and help with several humanitarian crises the council was facing on marginal worlds. It's a good deal, Seokun told Yunji during a break. Better than I expected. It's an acceptable deal, Yunji corrected. Good would be an apology. Good would be compensation for the exile, but acceptable is enough for now. The treaty was signed in a formal ceremony. Representatives from both sides affixed their marks to the document. Holographic recordings captured the moment for history. It was done. Humanity was officially part of the galactic community again. Not as members of the council, but as equals to it. After the public ceremony ended, the Luminar requested a private meeting with the human leadership. Only Yunji, Admiral Lee, and one other person attended. That person was Fleet Admiral Narration, commander of all Human Federation military forces. The Luminar studied them with whatever senses it possessed. I wanted to speak candidly, away from the others. Tell me truly, if we had refused recognition, if we had demanded you dismantle your colonies and return to council authority, what would you have done? Nara answered before Yunji could. Her voice was cold and certain. We would have refused. And if you had tried to force us, we would have fought. And we would have won. You seem very confident of that, the Luminar observed. We are, Nara confirmed. You've seen a fraction of our capabilities. One station, a few patrol ships. You haven't seen our shipyards, our defense fleets, Our weapons development, we spent 30 years preparing for the possibility that you might come after us. We're ready for that fight. She stepped closer to the Luminar. But here's what you need to understand. We don't want that fight. We've built something good out here. We have families, communities, a civilization we're proud of. We want peace. We want trade. We want cooperation. But we will never ever put ourselves under council authority again. If you try to control us, we'll resist. If you try to banish us again, we'll fight. This treaty works because it respects our independence. The Luminar was silent for a long moment. Then it said, I understand. And I must admit I'm impressed. When we exiled you, we thought we were solving a problem. Instead, we created a rival. Perhaps an ally if we're wise, perhaps. Yunji agreed. Time will tell. They left the private meeting and rejoined the celebrations. Ships from both sides were docked at the station. Crews were mingling, sharing food and stories. It was awkward but friendly. A start. Back on Earth, old Do-hyun Kim watched the treaty signing on a holographic display. He was 90 years old now, retired, living in a small house overlooking what used to be Seoul. The city was being rebuilt. Slowly, carefully. Many humans were returning to Earth now that they were allowed, but most stayed in the Federation. They had made new homes, new lives. Do-hyun smiled as he watched President Yoonji sign the treaty. He had been there at the beginning, standing before the council as they pronounced banishment. Now humanity stood before them as equals. It was a long journey, but worth it. On New Terra, Governor Hee-jin watched the same broadcast. She thought about the 30 years that had passed. The struggles, the victories.